Okay, so then we get to Mists of Pandaria. First of all, the art for Mop is just gorgeous. The first page of Mop is this, which is just like, oh my goodness. So going into this, it's talking about Tides of War, the fall of Theramore. I'm not going to get into all of that stuff. I don't think it's necessary. So let me read this. A Shrouded Land. So this is about Mists of Pandaria as a whole, of course. It says, 10,000 years ago, when the Titans first visited Azeroth, they found the planet uncorrupted. No, that's not what it says. It doesn't say 10,000. Let me correct myself. It says thousands of years ago, when the Titans first visited Azeroth, they found the planet uncorrupted but under siege by 4 powerful void beings known as the Old Gods. Okay? When it says things like this, part of me is like, well, there it is, dude. Like, there it is. You know, here they are reinforcing it. But part of me also thinks, well, are we just saying that still because based on our understanding, they are void entities? Because this can still claim that they're powerful void beings or whatever, but it can still be wrong, right? Like, I just don't know. This is where I was getting caught up when reading this because I'm so caught between like, why are they just putting it this way? Why are they saying it like this? Because this is the same with what I did before, where I read what's in Chronicle, and I look at what's in the game, and I think, these two things don't add up. What I've seen with my own eyes doesn't match what they're trying to make me believe in the book. And Zaxxas and I had a very quick dialogue this morning about that. Yeah, Skiz, let me read this again. Thousands of years ago, when the Titans first visited Azeroth, they found the planet uncorrupted, but under siege by 4 powerful void beings known as the Old Gods. To prevent the Old Gods from spreading their darkness to the planet's world soul, the Titans created new beings, known as the Titan Keepers, and imparted a portion of their powers to them. But the greatest of these Old Gods, Y'Shaarj, proved difficult to eradicate, as its corrupting influence could sway even the Titan Forged. Which is like propaganda? Well, maybe. Again, this is just a recounting of what the Titans allegedly did. So it's like, how do we really know? This is the problem. We're reading stuff about events that we never saw. We only see the remnants of these events, so we can only verify. Guys, this is inevitably the answer. You have to cross-reference. Like, you cannot, and I've said this for years, you cannot just read Chronicle and think that you just got the story. There it all is. That is so not how it works. The only way that you can figure out what's perspective, what's propaganda, what isn't, is by cross-referencing it. You have to look at what's in the game, what you see with your own 2 eyes, and figure out what's true and what's not. Chronicle is a puzzle piece. I've come to realize something. World of Warcraft isn't an MMORPG. Sure, it is, technically speaking, but that's not what it is. World of Warcraft is a puzzle game. World of Warcraft is a puzzle game, is what this is. Disguised as an MMORPG. Disguised as RTS. Disguised as whatever you want to disguise it as. It's a puzzle. That's what this stuff is. And I just believe you have to cross-reference, right? We're going to get to stuff in this book that claims shit that doesn't make sense. It claims that what happened in Val-Shara with Elune was a lunar eclipse. That's really interesting. Because what I saw in the sky was a solar eclipse, not a lunar eclipse. So unless that's just wrong, which it could be, because there's other information here that is blatantly wrong, then, it's stuff like that. The winners write the history, so this is the history written by the Titans. Jay, I kind of like this. So what Jay said is this. Previous Chronicle sections that were written from Titan perspective wrote the truth so that it favored the Titans. but it was events we weren't there to witness. Now we're seeing things written from the perspective on events that we were there directly to witness. We're seeing them contradict things we saw with our own eyes, like Agrimar. It's too easy of a fuck up that it being intentional makes no sense. It isn't complicated enough to be intentional. Right, I think them just putting the wrong but then, like, nobody went and checked this? Are you fucking kidding me? None of the people remembered that this is a solar eclipse? Like, how in the fuck did that happen? There's a page where it says the players meet character X. It says players? Oh no. No, dude. Okay, let me read this. Okay, this is very important. Thousands of years ago, when the Titans first visited Azeroth, they found the planet uncorrupted, but under siege by 4 powerful void beings known as the Void Lords. So here's my problem, chat. They're telling you something, they're admitting something right here. They're trying to bring focus to the fact that the world wasn't corrupted. Do you guys comprehend that what we know about old gods, void lords, and their plans for creation, that all comes from dreadlords? You guys know that, right? That what Chronicle claims is that Sargeras learned about that plot from dreadlords. Just like sit with that for a second and consider the implications of what that means. The Dreadlords said in their enemy infiltration preface that they were lying in the midst of the Void Lords themselves. They were sowing lies about them. So what I'm trying to insinuate here is that the belief that old gods would corrupt a world soul is based on entities who have admitted that they were lying. You must accept this. You must accept that this is true. Dreadlords wrote to Denathrius that they were going to sow lies in the midst of the Void Lords and position them as a foil against their other rivals. So what that means is that Sargeras' understanding of what would happen, and that he gave that information to the Titans, their understanding of what would happen could also be predicated on the same information that Sargeras received. But here's the truth. They found the planet uncorrupted. So this is what's fucked up. Because it says in Chronicle Volume 2 that when Agrimar discovered Draenor, he said, clearly, this was proof that what Sargeras had learned about the Void Lords was true. The proof lay right before his eyes. What I'm trying to say to you is that they're slowly being convinced of something that isn't true. What if it's not true? What if the old gods don't corrupt the Titan? They've been here for over 100,000 years, potentially. They came to this world and it was uncorrupted. What? But again, based on what Sargeras had found, alone, by the way, this corrupted soul that he had killed, and that soul may have very well been Argus the fucking Unmaker, which people are just like completely fucking ignoring for some reason. This eternal darkness, this dark creature, it's like, wait a second. It looks like we have dreadlords from death that recognize something that they could fucking lie about, that would send the Titans into a frenzy to solve an issue that wasn't real. They had the Titans fighting a proxy war that they couldn't win, and potentially convince them of something that wasn't happening. That's fucking crazy. So then when it says here, the Titans showed up, the planet was uncorrupted, but it was under siege by 4 powerful void beings known as the Old Gods. That all aligns with what Sargeras would have been told. To prevent the Old Gods from spreading their darkness to the planet's world soul, lol, the Titans created new beings, because that's gonna help, known as the Titan Keepers, which they crafted out of Azeroth's essence, by the way, and imparted a portion of their powers to them. But the greatest of these old gods, Yasharaj, proved difficult to eradicate, and its corrupting influence could sway even the Titan Forged. By the way, it's said in Chronicle that the Titans are uniquely susceptible to fell magic, whom the Keepers had empowered to help them fight. To save the nascent Azeroth, Hamanthul, High Father Amanthul personally tore Yasharaj from the very face of the world. While this listen very closely. While this did defeat the old god, it irreparably scarred the land. Pieces of Yasharaj's corpse fell back down to the surface, below, and wrought havoc wherever they landed. The most powerful of these pieces, like Yasharaj's heart, very similar to Azeroth's heart, were found and buried deep underground by the Keepers. But other fragments incorporated themselves into features of the planet itself. You fucking hear that? Holy shit, what a take on Yasharaj. This is not what was written in Chronicle Volume 1. This is not what they wrote in Volume 1. Let me tell you right fucking now. This is different. This right here, the most powerful of the pieces was Yasharaj's heart. That's not said in Volume 1. Were found and buried deep underground. So there's more than just the heart, by the way. But other fragments incorporated themselves into features of the planet. Whoa! Whoa! Hold on here. And we have a story that makes it sound like Yasharaj might have been the same entity as Eluna here, which was a world tree. Like, holy shit! That's crazy. And the serpent connection to Elune is easy to make at this point. It says here, over centuries, new civilizations formed atop one of these pieces. It would later be known as Pandaria. That's wild. The most powerful of these pieces, like the heart, were found and buried underground. Over centuries, new civilizations formed on top one of these pieces. This was known as Pandaria. So the land and the peoples formed over what had been buried there. Get used to that theme. That's gonna happen a lot in The War Within. The Mogu, stone servants of High Keeper Ra, agreed to guard Pandaria against any further corruption. However, as the centuries wore on, defilement set in motion long ago by another old god, Yogg-Saron, began to influence the Mogu. Over generations, the curse of flesh turned their Titan-forged bodies of mechanized stone to soft, mortal bodies of bone and sinew. But the Mogu were not alone in Pandaria. Other peoples existed alongside them. The Mantid, Pandaren, Hosen, and Jinyu chief among them. These civilizations remained mostly at peace as the Mogu warred for many, many years in a brutal era known as the Age of 100 Kings. It's also fucked up how they don't mention the Yongal there at all, by the way. Just erase them, who cares about them? Eventually, however, a powerful conqueror emerged among the Mogu. His name was Lei Shen, and he sought to continue the work the Titans had set his people to long ago. Lei Shen struck an incapacitated High Keeper Ra, imprisoning him beneath his throne, claiming the Keeper's mighty powers for himself. As the fearsome Thunder King, Lei Shen callously subjugated the other races of Pandaria, forcing them to serve the Mogu. He gained capable allies in the Zandalari trolls who sought arcane secrets from the Mogu. From the trolls, the Thunder King extracted secrets about the land, which aided the insular Mogu in their plans to continue the Titans' work. Yet for all his powers, Lei Shen's ambitions ensured his defeat. He sought to take control of the Titan machinery within Uldum, specifically the Forge of Origination, a super weapon that could enable Lei Shen to reshape Azeroth in any way he saw fit. Arcane and Pride once again, yep. And this is, we're talking about Pandaria, small and proud. And look, you've got proud in your name. That's sick. Yet for all his powers, Lei Shen's ambitions ensured his defeat. He sought to take control of the Titan machinery in Uldum Right. He assembled a massive army of Mogu to achieve this aim. Seeing that they were outmatched, the Tol'vir, guardians of Uldum, turned the Forge of Origination on Lei Shen and his forces. The Titan's powerful machinery scoured the land around the facility. Guys, remember Xal'atath's whispers? This land has seen so much upheaval. The cataclysm, the sundering, the scouring. You really have no idea. And when it says, every time it talks about the Forge of Origination being activated, it says scour. Every single time. From volume 1 to volume 4. Every single time that the Forge of Origination gets activated, scouring is the word used to describe it. What I am insinuating is that the world that we live upon was built out of the scouring. After the Titans came and re-originated the planet, they built a new layer on the outside. And that was the product of them scouring and ordering the planet. That was before the Sundering and well before the Cataclysm. When they scoured this land, they did it with re-origination. It's already been done. That's how they make Titan Forged. The fight with Argus reveals it. When you die to Argus, you make Titanic essence in the spirit realm. You then go inside there, you gather it, and you give it to Khazgaroth so that he can Titan Forge you. How did the old god races survive then? Great fucking question. Either they were immune to re-origination, they were imprisoned, and then the scouring took place. They were buried under in the second layer. It's probably a surface level thing. If they buried them deep underground, perhaps the scouring didn't affect them. Maybe the scouring is like similar to like a great flood, something that washes over the surface, but doesn't destroy everything. Maybe they were kept around for experiments. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what's implied in this book. Yasharaj dropping parts of himself while being ripped out makes me think of these are the old gods that dropped onto the world. Never know. Never know. So let me continue this. The Titan's powerful machinery scoured the land around the facility, instantly killing every creature on its surface, which is also what Argus does to us with re-origination. Remember, he cast the end of all things, instantly killing everybody, including the Tolfir defenders themselves. With Leishen's passing, Pandaren monks led the races of Pandaria in rebellion, and the Mogu Empire began to crumble. After a long and bloody war, they at last overthrew their oppressors and established a new order in Pandaria. A somewhat peaceful age passed, and a Pandaren named Xiaohao became Pandaria's new emperor. This period of harmony was shattered, however, when the demons of the Burning Legion began their first encroachments upon Azeroth amid the War of the Ancients. Xiaohao feared for his people and harbored doubts about their future. Fear and doubt. The lingering powers of the old gods attached themselves to the emperor's feelings. They empowered and gave form to these negative emotions, allowing them to manifest as evil beings called Sha. But I would like to point out something to you guys. I don't look at Yasharaj the same way that a lot of other people do. I look at Yasharaj and the Sha as an opportunity for growth. Okay? This might sound weird to people, but when I hear about the negative emotions of someone like Xiaohao being the conduit through which Yasharaj would attach and manipulate, it sounds like Yasharaj may have had the power to make manifest your emotions, perhaps specifically just in negative ways. I'm gonna say it. I think that there is tremendous value in that. I really do. Like, I think that an entity that can make real your greatest fears or prides or doubts or whatever, so that you can confront that. I don't know, maybe that's like a weird way of looking at it, but I think that there's tremendous value in that. That like you could really learn a lot about yourself, about your emotions, and how to face them because an entity like Yasharaj gives life to it, right? Makes it real. And I think that's really cool. Can you re-originate something which you don't understand the structure of? Yes, I think you can try. Skiz, guys, also remember, you guys say this. Well, how do the old gods not get re-originated? Let me put it this way. One of them did. I don't know if you guys remember or not, but one of them did. One of the old gods intentionally manipulated us into channeling a direct beam of re-origination right at him. We have actually done that. So, given that that is possible, here's what I think. I think that the old gods are probably trapped in a prison as well, and their bodies and their very being could be part of that prison. And so N'Zoth could have been like, you know what? The Titans took us, they dismantled us, and they captured us, and they fucking imprisoned us inside of ourselves. We're imprisoned inside our own consciousness, inside our own dream. We're imprisoned within this metaphysical, not real space. How the fuck do I get out of here? So he was like, you know what? Bridge it to my fucking place and re-originate me. Thanks. And Small and Proud says that here comes the part about freeing them by killing them. Exactly. Xiao Hao feared for his people and harbored doubts about their future. The lingering powers of the old gods attached themselves to the emperor's feelings. They empowered and gave form to these negative emotions, allowing them to manifest as evil beings called Sha. Overwhelmed by the trials set before him, Xiao Hao traveled seeking wisdom from Yulon the Jade Serpent, who set him on a great journey to purge himself of these negative emotions. After many long and grueling battles, Xiao Hao defeated the Sha, though he found he could not permanently be rid of them. So long as the people of Pandaria possessed negative emotions, the evil entities would eventually return. Rather than endlessly fight and kill the Sha, Xiao Hao locked away the evil beings underground, beneath the temples of Pandaria's local deities. Great idea. The August Celestials, who had themselves helped Xiao Hao conquer his emotions. He set the Shadow Pan, an order of monks Xiao Hao had founded to stand guard over their prisons. There was no better place to keep the Sha than under their watchful eyes. Having purged himself of the evil within his heart, Xiao Hao found his spirit became one with Pandaria itself. Except his pride. As his physical form disappeared, he broke the land from the continent of Kalimdor to ensure the protection of his people. He cloaked Pandaria in thick mists, hiding away from the rest of the world and the dangers that lurked there. For more than 10,000 years, the people of Pandaria had minimal contact with the outside world. In all that time, few Pandaren dared to venture away from their homeland. These wandering explorers formed a community atop the back of a great sea turtle named Shenzin Su and set sail across the world. We then have some art of Pandaria and everything on it. I'll pull that up real quick. Anyway, so we'll go to the next page. Wandering Isle, Jade Forest. Okay, so Serpent's Heart I thought was pretty interesting. This is the Serpent's Heart. This is talking about Yulon. Long ago, in the time of Lei Shen, the Thunder King, the great jade serpent Yulon became a rare spark of hope for the Pandaren, which is weird because you have Chi-Ji, the red crane of hope. As one of the August Celestials, she could not stand by and watch the Pandaren toil and suffer beneath the crushing weight of the Mogu Empire. I kind of think that I think that this is a fractal, maybe for Eonar or the Earth Mother. It says, she sought to empower the Pandaren by spreading wisdom to them. Some risked their very lives by abandoning their work in the pursuit of knowledge. So strong was her influence that Yulon's actions drew the attention of the brutal Lei Shen, the Thunder King, right? This reminds me of Eonar making Aman'Thul really mad at her. It says here, for galvanizing his slaves against him, he reached out to the skies, plucked a bolt of lightning, and struck the serpent, sending her crashing into the jade forest below. There the Pandaren found her, wounded, dying. She was moved to a place of safety, a place where the Pandaren worshipped the August Celestials. Touched by their devotion, Yulon imbued the chamber with celestial magic and bade the Pandaren build a statue in her likeness. For 100 years they labored, and the moment their work was finished, Yulon died. Yet as her life essence entered the statue, she was reborn. This reminds me of like the burnings and rebirths of Golveg, who goes to the halls of Odin and is speared, thrice burned, and thrice reborn. And the Titans take like avatars. I don't know, it just makes me think of that. I just can't help it. Yulon was not forever healed by this action alone. However, every 100 years, her life force had to be renewed by the people of Pandaria, completing this same ritual. Thus, once every century, the Pandaren built a great jade statue in the likeness of Yulon at a sacred temple called Serpent's Heart. Each time her current form began to die, Yulon transferred her into the statue and was renewed. Wait, what? Transferred her essence and was renewed. This process of rejuvenation came with many risks. If the Pandaren failed to complete a fresh effigy in time, Yulan's spirit could be lost forever. Yulan's unyielding faith in the Pandaren assuaged any doubts. She believed firmly that the Pandaren would never fail to care for her. She's like cheating the Ardenweald cycle in that way, too. Do you think if Eonar were killed that she would go to Ardenweald? Or is that stupid? Does she count as like a great nature spirit? Does that count? And we destroyed that statue, we did. I don't know. This seems to imply that she wouldn't. How does this imply that she wouldn't? Eonar goes to the vegan lands? I could see the dream lands, but that's an interesting question. This implies that she wouldn't, that she would be lost? Yeah, to the next realm, bro. They're holding her in reality by using this effigy. So what they mean by if she's lost, where do you think she's gonna go? Probably the same place the other wild gods would. Except the wild gods aren't bound to the Emerald Dream. The August Celestials aren't bound to the Emerald Dream the same way that the wild gods are they? They're not connected in the same way. Goes back to Elunaria, but then what is Elunaria? Elunaria gets brought up in this book, which I'm pretty stoked about. It says here, still, Yulan had not considered that the statue could be wrested away from the hands of her beloved Pandaren. The latest carving was on the verge of completion when Horde Alliance forces stormed through the Jade Forest and over Serpent's Heart. In their fighting, they toppled the Jade statue, triggering further hatred in the combatants and despair in the Pandaren. Unbeknownst to the Horde Alliance, the statue held another important purpose. It protected the seal that bound the Shah of Doubt. So this is about the Shah. Long after the death of Emperor Xiaohao, the Shah began to strain against the cages the great ruler had built to hold them. For centuries, they feasted upon the negative emotions of Pandaren's native inhabitants, slowly regaining their strength. To prevent the Shah from re-emerging, Pandaren leaders taught their young to control their negative emotions. Unfortunately, becoming embroiled in the war between the Horde and the Alliance ended any hope the Pandaren had for keeping the Shah dormant. With each passing day of conflict, the Shah grew stronger, until they could no longer be contained. Each of the 7 Shah were fueled by negative emotions. Doubt, anger, hatred, despair, fear, violence, and, most insidious of all, pride. The Shah of Pride was the only emotion Xiaohao could never fully defeat. I think the Titans are much like this. I think they're riddled with pride. Its lingering influence drove him to cloak Pandaria in the mists and hide the continent away from the wider world. Arcane as well. Yo, what's up, Taro? So, to the next section. This is a part of the Yongal invasion. It says, as ancient cousins to the Tauren people. Lucas, thank you very much, bro. For the 6-month resub.
Always good to hear Pyro talking about WoW lore.
Thanks.
Piru
Thanks.
party, Piru party, Piru party.
And most insidious of all, the desire to tell a streamer they're wrong about something. As ancient cousins to the Tauren people, the Yongal shared many of the Tauren's features, though the Tauren's philosophy of peace stood in stark contrast to the Yongal's warlike society. Their constant conflicts with the other peoples of Pandaria saw them eventually migrate to the Townlong Steppes beyond the Serpent's spine. This area was north of where the Manta dwelled, though not so agitated or so great in number outside their cycle. Here, the Yongal's culture of glory and strength was balanced against the external threats that faced them. Not a single warrior could be spared in their ongoing struggle against the Mantid. I just think it's cool how they highlight the philosophy, their warlike society, culture of glory and strength. Yongal, which are apparently ancient cousins to the Tauren people. I think that's really interesting. I see like a dichotomy in my brain. Like the Yongal are more aligned with Anshe, And maybe the Tauren are more aligned with Eonar or the Earth Mother or Musha or something like that. Philosophy of peace. Right? I just think it's interesting. The premature reawakening of the Mantid sent the Yongal into a frenzy. Huh. Anyway. I thought that was interesting. Just small stuff like that. The Shaw of Fear. This is something I was talking about earlier with the Klaxi. To the surprise of all, both the Elder and the preserved Mantid, Kilruck the Windreaver, were part of the Klaxi faction that opposed Grand Empress Shek'Zir. The Klaxi were a council of the Mantid's wisest leaders, stewards of their people's history and culture. Kilruck was a paragon, an elite warrior, sworn to the good of the Mantid who were preserved in Kaipari Amber for times when their society needed them most. He and the elders considered it their duty to depose the Empress after her reckless incursions beyond the Serpent's Spine. Mantid civilization itself was buckling under the weight of fighting a war on so many fronts. Casualties were mounting, and the Mantid could not afford to continue fighting. Kilruck was weak upon his awakening and desperate for allies, so he swallowed his pride and joined with the forces invading his land, bringing them before the full Klaxi Council. It's crazy how a paragon of the Klaxi, who literally worshipped Y'Shaarj, was able to swallow his pride and work with other forces invading their land. Isn't that fucking remarkable? That the guys who outright state that they worship them have the capacity to do such things. Interesting. Bringing them before the full Klaxi Council. Though many of the elders were hesitant to work with what they deemed the lesser races of Azeroth, the Klaxi leader, Klaxi Vor, swayed his fellows. He bade Kilruck direct the heroes where they would be of best use in ending the swarm, reawakening the greatest Mantid warriors who lay preserved in amber all around the Dread Wastes. Says here, one by one the champions roused the fabled warriors and called on them to join the rebellion against the Grand Empress. Backed by this elite force, Horde champions charged into Grand Empress Shek'Zir's underground lair. After a long battle through the Heart of Fear itself, these champions successfully deposed the Mantid ruler. Unfortunately, they failed to capture the Shaw of Fear. The malevolent entity, saw that it was outmatched and fled from its Mantid stronghold before it could be contained. The Alliance knew there would be no peace in Pandaria while the Shaw roamed free. So their champions tracked the creature through the Dread Wastes, over the Serpent's Spine, across the Valley of the Four Winds, back to the edge of the Jade Forest, and into a small region called the Veiled Stair. With what little time it had, fear corrupted the mightiest fortress it could find, the Terrace of Endless Spring. Located atop at the top of the Veiled Stair, this peaceful monastery served as a place of remembrance for Emperor Shaohao. It was from here that Shaohao gave up his physical form and severed Pandaria from the rest of the world. I don't think I knew that before I read this. Ironically, the ones who now came to defend it would be outsiders. Alliance champions stormed the ancient monastery, forced to fight the protectors of the Endless. Bit by bit, they cleansed the place of its corruption until they faced down the Shaw itself. Thus, fear fell to the might of the Alliance heroes. With the death of Fear, 6 of the 7 Shaw had been cleansed from Pandaria. Only the Shaw of Pride remained, but Pride was cleverer than its siblings. While the other Shaw had recklessly attacked Pandaria's temples, Pride lay hidden, waiting for an opportunity to strike at the heart of Pandaria itself. You see what's happening here? There's little fractals that exist even in these little paragraphs like this that you might not think anything of, but that's a fractal. In my opinion, that is most definitely a fractal. You could even say this, with the death of Fear, 6 of the... With the death of Eonar, 6 of the 7 titans had been cleansed from the universe. Only Sargeras remained, but he was cleverer than his siblings. While the other titans had recklessly attacked Azeroth's temples, Sargeras lay hidden, waiting for an opportunity to strike at the heart of Azeroth itself. Anyway, let's move on. Next part is Vol'jin talking about flesh-shaping magic. The efforts of Vol'jin and allies yielded the power Garrosh sought, Mogu flesh-shaping, that had been used to create the Sarok race. Vol'jin denounced it as the darkest of magics and refused to be party in its use. Pretty wild. I know that from Shadows of the Horde. I remember reading that. I think that's what it's from. Oh, and then this part's titled Shadow of the Horde, so I think that's probably correct. So yeah, it's interesting. The darkest of magics, the Mogu flesh-shaping magic that was being utilized. Interesting. I'm pretty sure the Primus has that too. Goes into the Divine Bell. The Divine Bell is really weird. The Divine Bell is an ancient Mogu artifact that when struck would basically inspire fear and doubt in the enemies and like rage and frenzy in their allies. So they basically, it was like a war bell that when they rung this bell, it would send everyone into a frenzy and basically like tear apart the morale of whoever they were fighting. The Pandaren came up with this this other thing. What the fuck was it called? The harmonic mallet, which is broken and scattered into a bunch of pieces. This mallet, when striking the divine bell, nullifies its magical effects and just puts out musical tones. Garrosh uses this bell to infest the warriors that are allianced with him. They're Shaw infested at that point, and to infuse his own Blade Master Ishi to fight for him. Overcome by the flood of the Shah's power and emotions, Ishi struck out at any in his vicinity, forcing others to put him down. Sensing his opportunity, Anduin nullified the bell's power with the harmonic mallet. Infuriated, Garrosh shattered the massive bell, burying Anduin in its heavy debris. Believing the young prince to be dead, Garrosh took his remaining forces and retreated like a little bitch. Says that right here on line 37. Check it out, page 37. Anyway. Old Allies, The Fate of Vol'jin, Rise of the Thunder King. I'm not going to get into all that. Okay, next one is part of Rise of the Thunder King. Okay, so check this out. With the Thunder King defeated, Jaina directed the Alliance to drain the power from Lei Shen's palace so that none could use it, but one source of power could not be so easily eliminated: Lei Shen's heart. The Thunder King's heart held immense arcane power taken from the Titan Keeper Ra. So long as the heart existed, there would always be a chance that Lei Shen could return. Which is so weird. Rathian requested the heart be brought to him so that he could claim its power and ensure none could resurrect the Thunder King again. The Black Dragon consumed the heart without hesitation. For a brief moment, Rathian's mind connected with the ancient arcane powers of the Keepers. Visions flashed before his eyes, showing him the truth of the Titan's fate, all slain by the fallen Titan Sargeras and the Legion. Even after thousands of years, there were those on Azeroth who believed the Titans would return one day and restore peace, but their hopes were in vain. No one was coming. The people of the planet would have to save themselves. This information horrified Rathian, but only for a split second. Listen to this. I always knew that Rathian recognized that the Titan Keepers forgot, but I didn't realize that Rathian also forgot. So this is what it says. As quickly as the visions had come, they left, taking their knowledge with them. Rathian forgot everything he had learned. But what if that's not true? Because he says, how ironic, none of them remember. How could he know that if he didn't remember anything? This almost feels like we're supposed to believe that he didn't remember. Did the Titans think that Rathian doesn't remember? Maybe they never planned for Rathian to get that message. See, this is one of those instances that Jay was talking about where he's like, why is it off? Rathian says, it is gone. I don't remember any of it. Oh, none of them remember. The irony. So he does say, I don't remember any of it. So, okay, so then that point's completely moot. Rathian forgot everything he had learned. All that remained with him was a deep sense of unease and a renewed desire to prepare for the coming invasion. The conflict in Pandaria would have to end. The world could not simultaneously fight the Legion and itself. I want to read you guys the heart of Yasharaj. Although he did not know it, Rathian would not have to wait long to see the nations of Azeroth united. Far underground, in a Titan vault deep beneath the Veil, agents of Garrosh's horde had uncovered the heart of the old god Yasharaj. In ancient times, Highkeeper Ra had overseen the construction of this vault so that the old god's heart might be stored and studied. He thought it might help the Titan Keepers understand the nature of the Void and all those born of its power. Oh, I love it, dude. Ra had it's so nice. Ra had charged the Mogu with protecting the vault and caring for the surrounding lands as well. But the Mogu had been led astray in their mission and were ultimately overthrown by the Pandaren. After that, though, he says this, Rathian, champion, I need time to digest what I have learned. But soon we will take action. Well, is what he learned that they forgot? I'm very conflicted on that. I'm very conflicted on that. Says here, over centuries, the Vault of Yasharaj was forgotten, but its contents remained intact. Horde agents delivered the heart to Garrosh, and he immediately sensed its potential as a weapon to wield against his growing list of enemies. However, time had weakened the old god's powers. The heart required a new source of magic power before it could reach its tendrils out into the world again. It's like a seed, bro. It needs to be germinated. Garrosh knew just where to find such a source. The waters of the Veil of Eternal Blossom held legendary power. For the purposes of reviving the heart, they would more than suffice. As Garrosh's forces... So what you're telling me that they imprisoned the heart of Yasharaj right next to a power source that could use it to restore itself. That is absolutely remarkable. What an intelligent thing to do. What an intelligent thing to do. As Garrosh's force moved the heart to the pools before Mogushan Palace, they were confronted by Terran Zu. But the Lord of the Shadowpan was far outnumbered, and Garrosh defeated him in single combat. Victorious, Garrosh dropped the heart of Yasharaj into the Veil's waters. In an instant, the pools turned a muddy black, the abundant flora of the Veil withered away, and the sky itself began to darken. Thoroughly revived, the heart began to awaken its one remaining champion, the Shah of Pride. So this is a big implication here. The heart was key to awakening the subdued Shah of Pride. The Shah of Pride had not broken out yet. It's so fascinating that the Shah of Pride even exists. Shao Hao never overcame his pride. So the fact that it was able to be manifest and locked away is fascinating to me. It says here, with this act, there was little left for Garrosh in Pandaria, so he got the fuck out of there like a baby back bitch and took his douchebag loyalists back to his stronghold in Orgrimmar. Says it right here, page 43, line 56. It actually says those exact words. He would forge a new horde, one in the image of the original. Only the strongest orcs would be allowed to join the Nazis, bolstered by only the Aryans would be allowed to join the Nazis, bolstered by a minority of useful delegates from what he deemed to be lesser races. Those who did not meet his standards would be expelled from his ranks or put into gas chambers. Sorry, couldn't help myself. Moving forward, the Shah of Pride. When the Alliance Horde in Shadowpan returned to the Veil, fresh from battle at the Throne of Thunder, they were too late. With Lorewalker Cho, they survived the scars, trying to find the cause of such wanton destruction. They surveyed the scars, Their investigation led them to a set of newly unearthed Mogu ruins where a Shah-corrupted manifestation of the Veil's waters rose up to oppose them. After releasing the waters from the Shah's influence, the heroes returned to the surface to regroup. At the ruins of the Golden Pagoda, they found themselves surrounded by the spirits of fallen Pandaren warriors, brave souls who had been corrupted by the Shah. For the rebels, it would seem not a foot of ground in the Veil held safe refuge. The heroes advanced through the corruption inch by inch until they came upon another new excavation, the Vault of Yasharaj. Eventually, the Horde and the Alliance breached their way into the vault that had once held Yasharaj's heart, unaware that it was still guarded. The Titanic Watcher Norushen. So this part's wrong as well. I don't get this at all. This part fucked me up, and I have to point this out. It says the Titanic Watcher Norushen had failed in his charge to protect the Veil from Garrosh's forces, and he was determined not to fail again. The heart of Yasharaj may have been long gone, but the Shaw of Pride lay ahead. Norushen would ensure Pride could not find another powerful vessel in the heroes who stood before him. He challenged these new invaders to purge themselves of their pride in battle with him, which... that's not really... like, let me continue this. It makes it sound like we fought Norushen. That's not what happened. Norushen summons motes of light. He says the light is cleansing, but it is not gentle. Like, this is gonna hurt. So we're not really fighting Norushen. We're using Norushen's methods of cleansing to purge the corruption out of ourselves, and what we fight is an amalgamation of corruption. So in this way, when it says, he challenged these invaders to purge themselves of their pride in battle with him. Again, that's not really what happened. After fighting the heroes and judging them to be of pure intent, he accompanied them deeper into the vaults. Yeah, that's not what happened. I don't think that's what happened. If the lead cinematic narrative designer for World of Warcraft kept the Lord of the Shadowpan in an enclosure and made people pay to see him, would that be Terran Zoo? You are absolutely unhinged, bro. You're absolutely fucking unhinged. So we're gonna go to Norushen, and I want to read his dialogue for you guys. Here's his quotes. He says, so Lord, he says, astounding! Another chamber that looks to originate from these titans. It must have been hidden away long before recorded history. And with good reason. In the chamber ahead, under our peaceful land, slept the heart of an old god. Norushen says, halt! Lord Wakacho says, oh my, what is this? Hello, I am Lord Wakacho. Norushen says, no further corruption will enter the heart chamber. Further corruption? No, we are here to stop the corruption and save Pandaria. You wish to purge the corruption? Yes, please let us pass. Should you pass this door at this time, you would fail. You, all of you, are corrupted with the insidious plague known as pride. You stand tall and proud atop your accomplishments, and this will be your downfall. Should you wish to defeat the corruption, you will first need to purify the corruption within yourselves. Speak to me again when you are ready to face your inner demons. Norushen says, my eternal pride has kept the corruption. My eternal vigil, pardon me. Fuck! My eternal vigil has kept the corruption of pride at bay. To face this corruption yourself, you must purify yourselves in the burning light. The burning light. To purify yourself of pride, you must purify yourself in the burning light. This process will not go easily for you. Are you ready? He says, very well, I will create a field to keep your corruption quarantined. Prove yourselves worthy, and I will let you pass. The light cleanses, but it is not gentle. Gird yourselves and be purified. Then with look within, be purified by the light. Face your inner demons. Look inside yourself and cleanse the darkness within. Stand in the light and be judged. Player killed unworthy. Only the pure of heart may pass. Wipe. The light will not suffer your taint. Outro. You have been judged and proven yourselves worthy. But be warned. What lies beyond will try your souls to their utmost. When you are fully prepared, you may enter the chamber. And then in the following fight, what do we fight? We fight the Shaw of Pride, right? How about this, Shaw of Pride? First dialogue, boom. Norushen, when you walk into the room, he says the corruption is amplifying. The fragments must be purged before it becomes too great. Terenzu was in there and he's very corrupted. He's coughing and he's giving a... Terenzu has survived his encounter with Garrosh, but his wound caused by Gorehowl is serious. At this point, we know Gorehowl's been corrupted by the Shaw of Pride because OG Gorehowl is stuck in the ground in the room of the Shaw of Pride. And now Garrosh is wielding a magical, pride-corrupted version of Gorehowl, which I'm assuming is what he struck Terenzu with. If you pay very close attention, which most people don't, during this fight, you can actually look at Terenzu, and underneath the brim of his hat, which is purposefully tilted downwards so that you can't see, his eyes are blue. Terenzu's very much corrupted by the Shaw. Okay? Terenzu says... Lorewalker Cho says, Terenzu! Terenzu says, Cho, the outsiders, they did this. We should never have let them in. Which I think is an expression of pride. They did this shit. Lorewalker Cho says, don't speak, friend. I will take you to the healers. Lorewalker Cho says, I will find help. Try to hold off the Shaw for as long as you can. Cho then leads Norushen out the way he came in. When you start the fight, the very first thing that Norushen says, remember what he said in his fight, remember? You gotta cleanse the pride out of yourself. Only then can you face the Shaw of Pride. All of you will fail if you go in there right now, so you gotta come into the light and cleanse yourself. Hallelujah! Right? Sounds great, right? What's the first thing Norushen says? It did not matter. It comes. What the goddamn shit did we do that for then? How come we let this Titan construct slam light at us until this amalgamation of corruption came out of us that we then kill? Like, what the fucking shit? And then it didn't even work. It didn't matter. It comes. Steel your hearts and prepare your souls. Are you fucking kidding me? Shaw of Pride then says, come, face me. Give in to your pride. Show me your greatness. And you aggro him and he says, so foolish. You are better than your companions. Your arrogance compels you. Your arrogance feeds me. Succumb to your pride. You should bow to no king or war chief. Norushen says, gift of the Titans. He says, be humble. Free yourself of arrogance. Okay, maybe that works. Didn't seem to work before. And it does, when you get Gift of the Titans, it does reduce your pride levels back down to 0. So it's very interesting. To a degree, it seems like maybe it works. Maybe. But if you purge it out of yourselves, what's happening? What happened in the chamber before? When we purge the negative emotions out of ourselves, it gave rise to an amalgamation of corruption. I have to ask you then, is it possible that that's exactly what all of the Shaw are? They're misunderstood, purged negative emotions. Like, yes, Yashiraj's power might tap into it, connect with it, be amplified by it, but at the end of the day, how did the Shaw really come to be? It sounds like they were wrought from Emperor Shao Hao trying to forcefully remove these things from himself. And this literally, as shown in the Norushen fight, can lead to amalgamations of corruption. How are we then not supposed to look at it and go, okay, well, how likely is it that that's exactly where all of this came from? And that this is more the result of the Titans purge something out of Yashiraj rather than it being the inherent nature of Yashiraj. It just makes me wonder, like, why the distinction, right? What is the real source, right? That's very Anu and Tatamet. I'm not as familiar with that, so maybe we could discuss that at some point. So I just think it's very interesting. So yeah,